Everyone else good? All righty. Good morning. It is that time of day on a Friday on April 24th at 9:30 for us to call the April 2026 ETP panel to order. I am going to pass over to staff for housekeeping and roll call.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for attending the April 2026 panel meeting. Before we begin, there are a few housekeeping announcements. If you are here in the hearing room, in order to avoid a persistent disruption of the proceedings, please do not stream via mobile device or connect to the Zoom platform, as it will interfere with our recording and sound system. If you are attending the meeting in person and presenting or providing comment, please step up to the podium and speak clearly and directly into the microphone. For those who are viewing or attending the meeting virtually and would like to make a public comment, please use the raise hand feature and wait for your name to be called, at which time you will be unmuted. When providing comment in person or online, please speak clearly, state your name, title, and the company you are representing, and you will be given 3 minutes to speak. Lastly, to ensure a respectful and professional environment, please keep side conversations to a minimum while inside the hearing room. If you need to have a discussion, kindly step outside to avoid disrupting the meeting. We will now proceed with roll call. Douglas Tracy. Jennifer Fothergill.
Present.
Gretchen Newsom.
Present.
Rebecca Betancourt.
Present.
Ricky Smiles.
Present.
Michael Greenlee.
Present.
Emily Desai.
Present.
Chair Betancourt, there are 6 members present. There is a quorum. Also present, Jessica Grimes, Executive Director, Peter Cooper, Assistant Director and Senior Advisor, Kumani Armstrong, Assistant Director and Chief Counsel, Tara Armstrong, Deputy Director of Technology, Chief Information Officer, Laura Campbell, Chief Deputy Director.
Thank you. All right. So we're going to move to I'm going to call the administrative piece. Are we all good with the agenda for today, April panels meeting, or is there any amendments that anyone wants to make?
I'd like to request that we move tab 7 for Greater San Fernando Valley Chamber to the end of the meeting.
Okay. Any concerns, issues with anyone on that? No.
Motion to approve the agenda without amendment.
Second.
Any public comments?
No public comment online.
We will move to vote.
Jennifer Fothergill.
Aye.
Gretchen Newsom.
Aye.
Rebecca Betancourt.
Aye.
Ricky Smiles. Michael Greenlee.
Aye.
Emily Desai.
Aye.
And then I am looking for an action to approve March panels meeting minutes unless anyone has any amendments.
So moved.
Second.
Any public comment on those agenda meeting minutes?
No public comment online.
Can't get the words out. All right, we'll move to a vote as we have no comments in the room.
Jennifer Fothergill.
Aye.
Gretchen Newsom. Rebecca Betancourt.
Aye.
Ricky Smiles.
Aye.
Michael Greenlee.
Aye.
Emily Desai.
Aye.
All right, thank you. We will now hand it over to I can't even do this today. My brain is somewhere. We're going to hand it over to staff for executive reports. That's the best way to put it.
Thank you, Chair Betancourt, and good morning and happy Friday to everyone. Welcome to our 8th panel meeting of the 2025-26 fiscal year. I am proud that ETP continues to play a critical role in advancing workforce training across California for almost 50 years. Before we begin with the content of the agenda, I am pleased to welcome our new representative from GoBiz, Chief Deputy Director, Emily Desai. Yay. Prior to her time at GoBiz, Emily served the U.S. Congress as a Senior Project Manager for International Affairs, Trade, and National Security at the U.S. Government Accountability Office. Emily was appointed to serve on the U.S. Investment Advisory Council and appointed to serve on the Intergovernmental Policy Advisory Committee for the Office of the U.S. Trade Representative. As you can see, Emily brings a wealth of experience and leadership that will be an asset for our mission. So again, welcome, Emily. At the same time, we offer our sincere appreciation to Derek Kirk, whose service and contributions to the panel have been greatly valued. He will be missed. On to today's agenda. E2P has begun an expanded stakeholder engagement process to help inform and strengthen how we make decisions. Today's presentation and action item on apprenticeships were enhanced by the insights gathered from these engagement sessions. And I am deeply appreciative of those insights that we have gained during the listening sessions to help shape today's discussion that the panel will be voting on today. As part of our engagement effort, ETP has also conducted a survey on artificial intelligence, or AI, and its impact on workers. Respondents who participated were invited to attend an engagement session with staff on the 15th, so we appreciate their contributions. We are now exploring ways that ETP can continue to deepen our understanding of how AI is impacting the workforce so that we can support retaining jobs and averting layoffs as workers adapt to emerging AI technologies. For today's panel, we have 13 proposals submitted for review. If approved, ETP will distribute approximately $3.4 million. 46% of today's proposals fall within the priority industry sector of manufacturing, 46% small business, 62% are from repeat contractors, and 38% are from new contractors. The proposals for today will be presented for review and action by Jana Lazarovich. Additionally, ETP staff will share 2 action items today. First, Marcela Loza will begin by presenting the recommended funding priorities and limitations for ETP's annual review of funding strategies and recommendations for the upcoming state fiscal year. Then Willie Atkinson will wrap up the presentations with the fiscal year 26-27 apprenticeship funding model, addressing the allocation of limited apprenticeship funds within a highly oversubscribed program. That concludes my portion of the executive report. I will now hand it over to Michael Cable to continue. Thank you all.
Thank you. Good morning, panel. Mike Cable with your legal unit to provide you a quick legislative report. You probably know legislature came back from recess on April 6th. Most of the bills are currently running through committee. Things are changing as they go through committee. We don't typically do a deep dive at this point because there's still a lot of changes. However, a couple of things to note. Since we do have the May revise and things coming up on your next legislative report, I'll be including a lot more of those legislative bills so we can find those tracking. And also, too, there's 2 things I wanted to point out in the memo, which is on page 1, AB 1534. This is the bill that creates an advisory board for the Federal Workforce Pell Grant Program. That was recently amended to make that an urgency bill. So if that does pass and get signed, then it'd become effective immediately. The other bill I wanted to point out is, of course, SB 1059, which is the ETP employment bill. You'll find that on the bottom of page 2, rolling on page 3. The reason I point that out is because that was in committee last week, and there were some changes to it. I included another document for you, and I passed it out, and there's also a copy at the back of the hall. But what I provided you is an updated version with those amendments that took place. And probably more importantly is the last 5 or 6 pages of that document includes the legislative analysis that accompanied the bill. So it'll give you a little bit more information as to the purpose, the meaning, the pros, the cons, et cetera, that was included at that committee meeting. I don't have much more to report at this point, except that next time I'll provide more on the budget bills, and then we'll probably see more happening on this ETP bill. Legal unit currently is doing ledge analysis and looking at AB 1534 and SB 1059. Big thanks to our fiscal unit who's been looking at the fiscal impacts of that. I know there's a lot to that, and I thank them for that work. Other than that, I will pass it on to Tara Armstrong for her report, unless anybody has any questions. Hearing none, I hand it over to Tara Armstrong.
Thank you, Cable. Good morning, panel members and stakeholders. Tara Armstrong, Deputy Director and CIO for ETP. A couple updates in our technology area is more around our ETP application coming up for fiscal year 26-27. So I've provided a few updates, I think the last few panel meetings, and we're at our final stages for improvements. The Application will open May 1st for 26-27 funding. The enhancements include like elimination of duplicative questions, adding page headers, doing lots of more pick lists and conditional questions, and adding a funding cap enhancement so that they can't submit funding over the funding cap. There's a couple of additional questions that came from recommendations from the policy committee. Those include asking whether repeat PEs are offering new training programs, and a business model question, allowing applicants to select that and if they're sharing what that reimbursement would look like. And then a final additional question asking if they're using AI or Gen AI, starting that initial collection. So this resulted in a reduction of 19% of the required questions, so a big chunk, so we're proud of that, and a reduction of about 3 form pages. I'd say the biggest impact was the consolidation of the MEC services and resources area. And our testers in-house reported that it is way more efficient, so I think that was a good sign. Our goal was just to continue to enhance it. So if you have recommendations, we have the CaliForce email. You guys can provide us information. We want to continue to always enhance our application so we can make it streamlined and easy for our customers, but also, of course, giving the information that we need. And lastly, I just want to give big thanks to our ETP application work group. Came from many different units over the agency. This includes Jana and Elena, Hannah, Nicole, Sua, Ilya, and Christina. They did a phenomenal job meeting weekly, working on this app work group, and continuing their regular work. So that concludes my update, unless there's any questions.
No, I'm just excited for efficiencies.
Yeah, me too.
Not a question, Terry. I just wanted to say I really appreciate that update. As perhaps my former colleague Derek shared, the governor's Jobs First economic strategy provided a host of recommendations about how we can better support industry. And one of those recommendations was really evaluating how our incentives can be better navigable and accessible to the business community. So just big kudos on thinking about how to be more efficient in that application process. It's something we're looking at with our CalCompetes program, and just appreciate the effort to make that more accessible and streamlined for the business community. So thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. And I'll pass that over to Laura.
Thank you. Good morning and welcome, panel members and stakeholders. Thank you for the opportunity to provide a summary of the Employment Training Panel's funding. Before I begin, I would like to welcome Holly Giddens as the new supervisor of the Grants and Solicitations Unit. Welcome, Holly. Regarding funding, today's panel meeting is for approximately $3.4 million. That includes 5 approved delegation orders for a total of $291,760. Delegation orders are proposals capped at $75,000 and approved under delegated authority by the director on a continuous flow basis. If all proposals scheduled for today's panel meeting are approved, the panel will fund 13 projects for a total of $3,439,363. Regarding demand, we have 230 applications in demand. 84 applications are currently in development, 27 applications are in eligibility review, and 119 submitted applications are pending review. Regarding allocations, including today's proposals, we will have approved 269 contracts for a total of $78.8 million. These proposals are projected to train 68,687 workers in various industries across California. I'd like to highlight some recent accomplishments. Since our last meeting in March, ETP has successfully closed 57 contracts, resulting in $13.5 million earned by contractors. 10,964 trainees successfully completed their training and met all retention requirements. Of these contracts, 5 were multiple employer contracts, 22 were apprenticeships, 24 were single employer contracts, and 6 were small businesses. These outcomes reflect continued progress and impact on expanding workforce opportunities across sectors and business sizes. Thank you, and I would like to hand it back to you, Madam Chair, for the next topic on the agenda.
Thank you. Any questions for Laura before we go to the next part? No. I think we're handing it right back.
Yeah.
Oh, policy, isn't it? Policy today, isn't
exactly.
it? Did I forget yesterday afternoon? I did, didn't I? Yeah, yesterday afternoon, I forgot, you know.
Our ETP Policy Committee did meet yesterday afternoon in a mixed in-person and over Zoom meeting. And as per Deputy Director Tara Armstrong's report, committee first heard an update on the efforts to improve the MEC application, and 2 new questions were added to the application for the upcoming fiscal year. Just to, again, throw it out there so we're all listening closely. It's whether or not the repeat participating employers are offering a new training plan and what the business model is for each of them. Committee also held a discussion item on ETP's revision process led by Staff Attorney Michael Cable, which is an excellent report, so thank you so much for that. And then there was a second discussion on the Welfare to Work guidelines, which will be converted into a simpler, love this, streamlined CalWorks information sheet. And lastly, committee voted in the affirmative to forward recent edits to the Medical Skills Guidelines 2 panel for full approval. That'll probably be coming up in May. And then anyone wishing to suggest a topic for consideration for future policy committee meeting agendas should email their suggestions to Liz Testa, our policy manager. And that concludes my report.
Well, there's nothing about health. Oh, that's May, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah, that's
okay.
May.
I'll go back
Yeah.
to, my head is somewhere else today. All right, I don't know what's going on. We are now going over to funding.
Good morning, panel members. We'll start with tab 1. This is a proposal from AeroVironment, Inc. They're an American defense technology company that designs and manufactures autonomous systems, counter UAS systems, and space systems. They are a repeat contractor requesting $150,024 to train a total of 141 workers. Training will take place at their 6 locations in Simi Valley, Petaluma, and Moore Park. Representatives from AeroVironment are here to answer any questions.
Good morning, Ms. Chair and members of the panel. My name is Ruth Richmond, Director of Talent Development for AeroVironment Incorporated. AeroVironment is a global leader in the design, development, production, and lifecycle support of unmanned aircraft systems, loitering munitions, and related autonomous solutions. Our technologies provide critical capabilities such as intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, secured communications, force protection, and precision mission supporting customers worldwide via land, air, sea, space, and cyber. We are grateful for the previous ETP funding support, which has helped strengthen our workforce and advanced our capabilities. As demand for autonomous systems continues to grow, we are experiencing strong and sustained expansion across both government and commercial markets. And since we partnered with ETP, our California-based employees have grown from about 838 to close to 1,400 employees. To maintain our leadership and support this growth, we are investing in advanced software, modern manufacturing equipment, and targeted workforce training. These efforts are key to sustaining our operations and scaling our operations to drive innovation and meeting evolving customer needs. We appreciate the opportunity to partner with ETP again and would be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Does panel have any questions on the proposal?
Motion to approve AeroVironment, Inc. in an ETP funding amount of $150,024.
Second.
All right, do we have a first and second? Do we have any public comments?
There are no public comments online.
And there look like there are none in the room, so we shall move to vote.
Jennifer Fothergill,
Aye.
Gretchen Newsom,
Aye.
Rebecca Betancourt,
Aye.
Ricky Smiles. Aye. Michael Greenlee. Aye. Emily Desai.
Aye.
All right, so the motion is adopted as we're all in favor, so you are funded. Good luck.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Have a great.
All right, next up we have tab 2. This is a proposal from Balfour Beatty Construction, LLC. They're a construction management company that also provides general contracting, design build, integrated delivery, and pre-construction services. They are a repeat contractor requesting $455,000 to train a total of 325 workers, including 10 new employees to be hired over the next 2 years. Training will take place at their 7 locations in San Diego, Orange, Riverside, Ventura, Los Angeles, and Sacramento counties. If you'll notice in the prior projects table, the actual performance percentage is 99.8%, but as a standard practice, we round it up to 100%. In addition, there is a correction to the number of employees in the U.S. on the first page of your proposal. The correct number is 2,500, not 350. And representatives from Balfour Beatty Construction are here to answer any questions.
Good morning and happy Friday. My name is Kyle Frenton. I'm a vice president. I oversee our Sacramento office here for Balfour Beatty Construction, so it's very convenient for me to get here today. And I've actually, in addition to overseeing our operations here in Sacramento, I do oversee our ETP program, and I am proud to say that at our last project, we did hit 100%, 99.8. But I oversaw that, so I'm very excited to be here again today and looking forward to another successful project going forward. But I did just want to say thank you. I'm excited to be here today and excited for another opportunity. This really is a tremendous program for our company. And happy to answer any questions. But again, thank you for having me today.
Thank you. Any questions from panel? We're a quiet bunch today.
Happy Friday. Motion to approve Balfour Beatty Construction LLC and an ATP funding amount of $455,000.
Second.
There we go. Let's go first and a second. Do we have any public comment?
There are no public comments online.
All right. And there look like there are none in the room, so we shall move to vote.
Jennifer Fothergill,
Aye.
Gretchen Newsom, Rebecca Betancourt,
Aye.
Ricky Smiles. Aye. Michael Greenlee. Aye. Emily Desai.
Aye.
So we're all in favor of the motions adopted and you are funded.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next we have is tab 3. This is a proposal from CMH Manufacturing West, Inc., doing business as Clayton Homes. They have withdrawn from the April panel meeting and will attend a future meeting.
Sorry, Jana, can I just ask though, something that jumped out to me about their proposal was Productive Lab. If I could just ask that you take another look at that with the applicant and how they're describing it.
Okay, will do.
Great.
Thank you. Okay, next up we also have is tab 4. This is GKN Aerospace Chemtronics, Inc., doing business as GKN Aerospace. They have also withdrawn from the April panel meeting and will attend a future meeting. Tab 5 is for Mariani Nut Company. They have also withdrawn from April panel meeting and will attend a future meeting. So we will move on to tab 6. This is a proposal from Sierra Pacific Home and Comfort, Inc. They are a small business HVAC contractor that also provides solar, home performance audits, and window indoor replacements. They are a repeat contractor requesting $159,600 to train a total of 95 workers, which includes 11 veterans. Training will take place at their headquarters and sole location in Rancho Cordova. Sierra Pacific is also requesting to use bonuses and commission as supplemental wages to assist in meeting the post-retention wage requirement of $33.64. This is in accordance with ETP Regulation 4418, Sections B and C, which state that the panel may use commission or include bonuses in determining a trainee's hourly wage if there is a reliable history of commission or bonus payment by the employer and if actual payment can be verified. Sierra Pacific has a formal commission and bonus plan in place that is a regular part of their compensation structure. ETP staff was provided with and reviewed Sierra Pacific's bonus and commission structure documents and determined they meet Regulation 4418, Sections B and C requirements. In addition, Sierra Pacific's previous ET19 contract was audited, which resulted in audit findings, but all discrepancies found in the audit have since been resolved. Representatives from Sierra Pacific are here to address any questions.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Jason Hansen. I'm the president of Sierra Pacific Home and Comfort, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak today. At Sierra Pacific, we've proudly served the Northern California market for homeowners and businesses since 1984. Our purpose is to create safer, more comfortable, more energy efficient homes and workplaces. Our services have grown beyond solar and HVAC to include now plumbing, electrical, and water treatment and purification. And it's allowing us to serve our clients better for improving their complete solutions for their home. What we do is more than just services. We help people feel better, more safe, more secure, more comfortable in their homes and in the places that matter most to them where they spend their lives. As a veteran-led company, we strongly believe in hard work, loyalty, and investing in our people. Our employees are the heart of what we do. It's the purpose for making their lives better and the lives of our clients better. And many of them have built long-term, strong careers. I've been fortunate to see people retire from that business after 36 years, 33 years, 30 years in the trades. And it's something that I'm rewarded by as we continue to bring new people into the trades and give them a really great career. As a returning ETP participant, we've experienced firsthand how valuable this program is to both our team members, our employees that we're developing, and the business. In the past, ETP-supported training has helped our employees strengthen their technical skills in their trade, but also stay current in changing industry standards and adapt to new technologies. That investment has allowed us to improve their performance and the performance we provide for our clients. As our company continues to expand and the industry continues to evolve, ongoing training remains critical. And the training is about creating those opportunities for those employees to continue to succeed and advance and build better futures for themselves and their families. ETP's continued support allowed us to invest in our workforce and strengthen the company and continue delivering quality service. And our clients have trusted us for over 40 years, and we work hard to maintain that trust through delivering craftsmen to their door. We truly appreciate this opportunity to return as an ETP participant and for ETP's partnership in helping us develop our people. And thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Before we get, I know there's probably an issue on hand over here on one piece. Does anyone else have any questions on the proposal? I just want to pull, I think, on the reported audit. So the audit findings, it was I'm going to say a sizable chunk that was a disallowed cost. Can you help us build confidence in what we've put in place to potentially stop this from happening again in the future? Because it was a sizable amount.
Yes. What we discovered, it was more of a timing issue, and we learned and understand that process now. So the timing and retention, and we've made corrective, actions internally to understand that better, so that we can avoid that again.
Okay. I'm going to pass it over your way. I know where you're going, so
You know where it's going. You may be aware or not aware that I usually take grave issue with compensation that is based upon piecemeal rate specifically, and then also commission and bonus when it's not directly for sales staff. So you have presented to us a piecemeal compensation for the installers, and I understand your benefit to the community and your clients, but I need you to have a conversation with me about your workers. And part of the priority of ETP is to invest in high road, high wage, stable jobs. And when I see compensation being provided through bonus or commission or piecemeal rates, that to me raises red flags that this is not a stable income that the workers can rely on and know how much they're going to be able to earn, depending on the fluctuations of the market, whether or not they were able to install or piecemeal certain things on the job site. Like maybe it's a bad day on Monday, it's a great day on Friday. How can they live a life, provide for their family without kind of that certainty as to what they're going to be earning?
I'm happy to report on that, in that I'm very proud that our installers earn at very high hourly average rates. And so they have the ability to expect and count on that piece rate to be regular and normal for them. So for every job that they install, they can count on that adding to their income. And today, our average hourly rates will range for our installers between the low $50 to maybe the high $70 range, $78 an hour range. So our installers can count on that. They earn a very rewarding career with what they do.
So, sir, what's presented to me in the table that I look at as a panel member? We have a wage range. It's always a tongue twister for me. Apologies. And for the technicians, it has a wage range, I'm going to get it right, between $18 to $35 an hour. And for the installers, $18 to $40 an hour. And respectively, 25 of those technicians and 20 of those installers are in this column that I'm seeing that they're being compensated $20 and under. So closer to that minimum wage. So is it that I'm not seeing the bonus and commission and piecemeal rate in that column? Like this is like the guaranteed minimum, right? Is that what I'm looking? I'm going to look to your consultant because he should be able to answer this for you. Okay. Okay.
But
And I think we're, oh, sorry.
go on, go ahead.
I think we, oh, sorry. I think we all are learning as we are. Thank you. Yeah. I consult better than I technology, sorry. Yeah, so we were just learning with the new tables and commissions being an issue and more visible and working with staff on how we prepare the tables. So I think yes is the answer to your question, but sometimes they are a little confusing because we're all kind of learning where to put things and does commission go in there? Does bonus, does piece, where does that all lay? But yes is the answer.
But overall, for
Yeah.
the entire workforce, they're going to have to earn a minimum of $33.64 an hour in order for you to be compensated for their training. So
I think that's the big piece. Like I look at that post retention and I'm like, that's telling me in between the math of everything, and this is where I'm like, I honed in on the audit finding, I think, is they will be walking out at the ones that are being funded is a minimum wage of $33.64 an hour, regardless of if it's commission, base pay, all of those things. The way that it makes it up to that $33.64 has all been approved as being, I'm going to call it, legitimate in the guidelines of ETP. So we're really actually not looking at a $20 an hour retention wage. We're looking at an average of $33.64. So no one will be funded unless they're over $33.64. I think the biggest piece will be how are we making sure on the administration end that you are hitting that so that you're not getting audit findings like in the past where you had those ones who did not meet that wage. Feels like a lot of math,
it's a lot of math.
which I'm glad I don't have to do, but that's where it sounds like it's going to. Does that make you feel better?
It makes me feel better, but I'll just put into the record, I do not support like piecemeal compensation. So I'm going to vote yes for this, but it's just for those listening out there, I think it provides instability to the workforce, but I'm done.
No. Any other questions, comments from panel?
I just had one question.
Go ahead.
The off-season, what is your layoffs like? Because I've checked out the company. I go to Indeed, I look at reviews from current employees, past employees. I saw one review from a technician, says 50% of the time on the job is being a technician, 50% is upselling or promoting new upgrades on the products. Huge layoffs in the slow season. So how do you keep these employees current employed on an ongoing basis?
So one, I'm very proud that in the last several years, we've had very minimal seasonal fluctuations. So not massive layoffs. We've been able to retain our teammates. Let's just say our heating and air business, as we all can intuitively understand, there are seasonal peaks and valleys to that business. And so we adjust accordingly in our business to accommodate that. My endeavor is to keep my teammates and their families fed year round. And so we work really hard not to live to fluctuations with that, because I invest a lot in the training for these people, then to learn our culture and to deliver how to, great service in the home. And so a big part of what this workforce for me is helping these people become better people. And when we accomplish that, I don't want to see them leave and then I have to hire new people and replace them. So we've had very little fluctuation in our workforce, and we track that on a regular basis because we consider retention as basically our own grade card on how well we're doing at creating good careers and people that are happy with what they do. So they do, when they go into your home, they're enthusiastic and they make you feel great about what they're doing. So no, we don't really have a lot of layoffs.
Turnover's low. And when you said that, I went to turnover and I'm like, turnover's 3%. So I don't know. I mean, obviously the turnover calculation is showing at 3%, which feels pretty low for that kind of industry. And I kind of go to where Gretchen's on about like the average wage, but then I'm like, they're at 3% turnover coming in at $33 an hour. That paints I'm going to say a different picture than maybe what I feel like we're kind of trying to angle at, that actually it's a pretty stable, committed at 3% with that wage. I mean, I know what Indeed, I think it's, and maybe there's a different number that's not been reported, but yeah.
The employees when they're doing
Mhm.
reviews of past
Yeah.
practices and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So there's a different side from the employee side to the business side. So
It's just interesting turnover, so.
I would add to give you more peace of mind, I'll give you an example of, we have a solar pool installation division, and that is a very seasonal business too. And so you can understand that in the winter, there's not very much there. One of the things that the ETP and things like this have enabled me to do is go to talented craftsmen in that trade and be able to move them over into another trade when they're in the off season. So as an example, we have installers that will take the time and go learn to do water treatment and water softener installs when they were previously doing pool equipment. And so these are the kind of things that we do to create a very low turnover, because those people are valuable to us as teammates. We want them to continue to be successful year round. So we find those opportunities.
So what I'm hearing is you don't hire them as a seasonal role. You hire them in with a specialty and then you cross-train to allow them to continue working throughout the year.
I do that in every case that I can. Absolutely.
So I'm just looking at your number of trainees, number of employees, and I'm like, is there a seasonal bulk of employees? It's not. It's seasonality of the work, but then you cross-train to be able to place them in other things in the not season for solar panel pools and that kind of thing.
Yes, as much as practical. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions from panel? Comments?
Motion to approve Sierra Pacific Home and Comfort, Inc., contract number ET 26-0288 in the amount of $159,600.
Second.
Do we have any public comments?
There are no public comments online.
And there are none in the room. We shall move to vote.
Jennifer Fothergill,
Aye.
Gretchen Newsom, Rebecca Betancourt,
Aye.
Ricky Smiles. Aye. Michael Greenlee.
aye.
Emily Desai.
Aye.
All right, so we're all in favor. The motion's adopted and you're funded.
With gratitude. Thank you so much.
Okay, tab 7 has moved to the end of the panel meeting, so we'll move on to tab 8. And tab 8 is a proposal from Vehicles for Change San Diego, Inc., and they have withdrawn from the April panel meeting and will attend a future meeting.
Jana, I'd like to visit them if you'd like to connect us.
Okay, will do.
Back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so as we've moved Greater San Fernando Valley, I think we are now going to apprenticeship, or is it cap funding? Hang on. Funding allocations. Marcella, yep. Funding time. It's the numbers time. It's Friday, it's numbers.
We got here quick. Fun time. While your attention is all still fresh. All right, thank you. Good morning, panel members and stakeholders. My name is Marcela Loza. I am the Chief of Finance. Today, I am presenting the proposed employment training panel funding strategies and action items for the next fiscal year 26-27. Next. This presentation will include recommendations for priority industries, funding allocations, funding limitations and moratoriums, project caps, and reimbursement rates. And I will conclude with the consolidated action item for panel consideration. you. As part of the annual state fiscal year process, ETP staff conducts an extensive fiscal and economic analysis to evaluate and refine our funding strategies for the upcoming fiscal year. This work incorporates various methods, including a 10-year analysis of historical trends, while also considering future priorities and strategic direction. The recommendations provided today are developed by staff based on this comprehensive data-driven approach. Next slide, please. Thank you. This year, ETP staff recommend maintaining the current priority industries with 2 targeted adjustments based on stakeholder feedback received over the past year, specifically adding healthcare and social assistance and removing retail trade. Next slide, please. Next, with respect to funding allocations, staff recommend that there are no changes to the funding allocations for fiscal year 26-27. Next slide. Regarding funding limitations and moratoriums, staff recommend to keep these the same as well, as listed. And next slide, please. Okay. Moving on to project caps, staff recommend a modest increase of $50,000 across the single employer, critical proposal, and multiple employer contracts. These adjustments reflect our changing demand. Please note, Willie will address the apprenticeship allocation and demand in his upcoming presentation. Next. Next, regarding reimbursement rates, staff recommend maintaining current rates across all training categories. All right, and staff are requesting panel approval for the following items presented today: priority industries, funding allocations, limitations and moratoriums, project caps, and reimbursement rates for fiscal year 26-27.
Thank you, Marcella. Any questions, comments from panel on the information and request?
Comments, if you will, and then maybe a motion. So not much has changed over the years in how we allocate and the moratoriums and the rest of the presentation, which, by the way, thank you very much for being so concise. Minor adjustments for the cap amount, but I would like to plant a seed for future consideration, perhaps for fiscal year 27-28, that we take another look at the allocations percentages. And we have seen consistently for the past many years, the apprenticeship programs are oversubscribed. There's huge demand for that. And none of them are coming anywhere close to where their cap could be because there's such limited funds. So I'd like to propose for future consideration for fiscal year 27-28. And I want you to do the data analysis, the collection, the deep dive to see if this is feasible or not, to boost the apprenticeship allocation from 25% to 30%, and then multiple employer from 25 to 20, and see what that does for the future.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions, pearls of wisdom? No.
Just for the priority industries, I appreciate what you've done here today. Very quick presentation. And I would just offer and extend the opportunity to present these recommendations and why, the strategy behind them, to a policy committee if we need to have a more in-depth conversation for that. But wholeheartedly agree with where you're going with this today.
Okay.
I think I'm excited to see from the feedback from our contract holders, from public comment and that side, that we have brought back in the hospital and the healthcare roles that have been seen through, I'm going to say, the lens of why aren't they priority? And that's been a common theme that we're looking at. And I think this is a common theme we're seeing, is listening to our stakeholders, to how do we adjust, how do we move, how do we flex going forward. I think apprenticeship, even though we're not there yet, was a great example of how we really did that. And this is another good example of where we're flexing based on what we're hearing, rather than just being, we're just doing it what the numbers tell us. We're listening to our stakeholders to really be able to move forward to meet where the need is in that sense. Okay, any other questions, comments from panel?
Motion to approve the following items as described for fiscal year 26-27 and because I'm just going to keep going. Okay. Priority industry, funding allocations, limitations and slash moratoriums, project caps, and reimbursement rates, with the understanding that we're planting a seed to take another look at the funding allocation percentages for fiscal year 27-28.
Second.
Any public comments on this action item?
There are no public comments online.
Michelle?
Hi, good morning. Michelle Rickner with Job Forward. I just wanted to, again, kind of repeat what you said, Rebecca, is that really grateful for staff for looking at priorities and bringing hospitals back into healthcare realm. I think that, a couple of years ago, they kind of got ousted for whatever reason, and grateful. I think it's going to help with the infrastructure and that big demand for healthcare in California. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? All right, we shall move to vote.
Jennifer Fothergill,
Aye.
Gretchen Newsom, Rebecca Betancourt,
Aye.
Ricky Smiles,
Aye.
Michael Greenlee,
Aye.
Emily Desai.
Aye.
All righty, so we're all in favor? The action items approved?
Thank you all.
Thank you. I think we're going to Willie next, correct?
Yes, can you hear me?
All right, the floor is yours, Willie.
Okay. Good morning, panel members. My name is Willie Atkinson. I'm the Assessment Program Division Manager, and today I will be presenting a memo for the fiscal year 26-27 Apprenticeship Funding Model Recommendations. The panel has been asked to address challenges of allocating limited apprenticeship funding within a highly oversubscribed program. Demand for funding has progressively and consistently exceeded available resources in recent years. As a result, clear guidance is needed to establish a consistent, equitable allocation framework that addresses the continuing excess in demand. At the March 23, 2012 panel meeting, the panel approved the Apprenticeship Pilot Guidelines 6-0, following input from DAS, the Department of Education, the California Community College Chancellor's Office, and trade organizations. The pilot was established to supplement rather than displace existing apprenticeship funding, including related and supplemental instruction, RSI, funds, by reimbursing a reduced rate per hour of related instruction rather than the full priority rate. In the years following implementation of the apprenticeship pilot program, both the number of funded programs and overall demand have steadily increased, culminating in 92 apprenticeship proposals approved in fiscal year 25-26, with a total funding demand reaching approximately $80 million. Consistent with the collaborative approach used to develop the original apprenticeship pilot guidelines, ETP has continued to actively engage stakeholders, including DAS, the Department of Education, the California Community College Chancellor's Office, program sponsors, and industry representatives for ongoing program improvements and effectiveness. This continued engagement has resulted in a series of targeted enhancements over the years, which include: 1. Transition to an annual funding window to ensure all eligible programs have the opportunity to apply for and receive some level of funding. 2. Allocated a set percentage of core funding towards funding apprenticeship programs. 3. Supported the passage of legislation to clarify ETP's ability to fund apprenticeship programs. 4. Establish a dedicated apprenticeship unit with a manager to provide direct, consistent customer service and support to program stakeholders. And 5, created an apprenticeship subcommittee made up of the panel members. ETP has made significant progress in institutionalizing apprenticeship funding as a core component of its program portfolio. At the October 24, 2025 panel meeting, the panel proposed establishing a subcommittee to take a phased approach in evaluating and improving the equity of apprenticeship funding for the upcoming fiscal year. This action was taken in response to concerns raised regarding the equitable distribution of funding in apprenticeship proposals approved at the September 2025 panel meeting. The apprenticeship subcommittee was tasked with developing recommendations for a funding model to be presented at the April panel meeting and implemented for the application window for fiscal year 2027, opening from 12 a.m. on May 11th, 2026 through 11:59 p.m. June 22nd, 2026. Continuing the collaborative approach of a stakeholder engagement, ETP staff conducted an apprenticeship funding equity survey to gather input on the distribution of apprenticeship training funds. In addition, the apprenticeship subcommittee hosted 2 listening sessions, the first on March 12, 2026 in Long Beach, California, and the second on March 27, 2026 in Sacramento, California. During these sessions, ETP staff presented key findings from the stakeholder survey, and the subcommittee facilitated opportunities for public comment and discussion. Analysis and recommendations. In providing recommendations for an equitable funding model, consideration was given to the following: public comments submitted and made during the March 2026 listening sessions, responses to the apprenticeship funding equity survey, administrative feasibility of making changes prior to the application window opening, making the application process less complex for the applicant and ETP staff, panel and public feedback from memos submitted to the policy committee and panel meetings in July, August, and December of 2021, January 22, and April 23 regarding funding recommendations. An additional consideration in the development of an equitable funding model is that funding under this program is subject to availability and may vary from year to year. Therefore, it should not be viewed as a consistent or guaranteed source of support. Program funds are intended to be supplemental in nature and not designed to displace existing employers or sponsor investments in training. Instead, ETP resources are allocated with the intent of reaching the broadest possible audience and maximizing the overall impact of available funds. Another key factor is that training of an apprentice is generally an inherent requirement of an apprenticeship program. These training components are core obligations established by program standards are expected of both program sponsors and employers. As such, ETP funding is intended to support, enhance, or expand upon this required training, such as increasing capacity, improving quality, or broadening access, rather than replacing costs that sponsors are already obligated to incur. Accordingly, staff recommends the following actions for approval. 1. Contract holder. The funding model includes a structured 3-part administrative threshold analysis to determine contract responsibility. Under this approach, contract holder determination would first default to the sponsor of the approved program standards, recognizing their primary role in oversight of the apprenticeship program. Where a sponsor oversees multiple programs, a single consolidated contract will be established to encompass all participating programs under that sponsor. Second, the entity identified on the STD 204PE data record would be reviewed to confirm the appropriate legal payee and ensure alignment with the contracting entity. Finally, apprenticeship training trust documents, where applicable, would be considered to further validate governance structure, fiscal accountability, and authorized responsibility for administering funds. Together, these 3 criteria provide a consistent, transparent framework for identifying the appropriate contract holder and ensuring administrative clarity within the funding model. A note: applying the 3-part threshold analysis to the proposals approved in fiscal year 25-26, 23 proposals would have been consolidated into 8, with no change in the total amounts of the award. This change would have saved staff resources, eliminated the need to conduct multiple monitoring visits, audits, and reduced the number of contract revisions, as well as being less administrative cumbersome for the applicant. Number 2, per apprentice rate. The apprentice rate is determined strictly by the total number of registered apprentices with DAS from all the applications submitted during the window and the total funding allocation with no funding cap. The rate is only used to determine the total award amount for each proposal. Pre-apprentices and journey workers can be included in the proposal once the award amount is determined. Administratively, ETP staff will develop the proposal for the award amount using the current process of projected number of trainees, training hours, and reimbursement rate. DAS registered apprenticeship data will be requested by ETP staff on the next business day after closing of the application window in order to provide applicants with ample time to update their information with DAS. As a note, per existing state law, it is a requirement that all apprentices must be registered with DAS within 30 days of executing an apprenticeship agreement. ETP would not be the first funding agency to implement this type of methodology. DAS, in its awarding of the California Apprenticeship Council CAC training funds, utilizes a proportional funding distribution method based on the number of registered apprentices. Number 3, per apprentice rate. The apprentice rate is determined by the total number of trainees in a program as submitted by the applicants and the total allocation with no funding cap. The numbers submitted will be validated against DAS data to ensure alignment. Data will be collected on the next business day after the closing of the application window. And a note, compares the table with examples of proposals funding in fiscal year 25-26 at the highest awarded amount of $362,800, applying the per apprenticeship rate 1 and per apprenticeship rate 2. And the number of registered apprentices within DAS and the number of apprentices submitted by the applicants. There is a note regarding 2 of the data points there is that the applicant submitted 2 applications and was awarded funding for 2 proposals under the same entity and DAS standards. Action. The panel will need to choose whether to approve inclusion of number 1 related to who may apply, and if so, whether to apply either number 2 or number 3 to the application submitted to determine contract amount. I turn it back over to the Chair Betancourt.
Thank you, Willie. I'm going to just put on record, I really appreciate the amount of input that was given to us from our stakeholders, but also then staff's time and really like listening to it, thinking through it, and really coming up with, I'm going to say like a really strong model and some very strong proposals based on like looking at the iterations from when we were in Long Beach and here, it feels like a lifetime ago, but it was only last month, to what's come out in like really listening to everything we heard and thinking about what is the best for all kind of motion. I will say I think I'm really appreciative of everyone's honesty and, you know, as we ask questions, the critical thinking skills that everyone used to really look for the good rather than attacking one another or being like, I really want this way and not thinking about that overarching. So I just want to say thank you on the record to everyone for that. From that, I am now going to pass it to panel for any questions, comments, thoughts that they might have, or feelings maybe about this.
Okay. Willie, I got some questions from the public pertaining to under item 1, contract holder in the note, where it states 23 proposals would have been consolidated in 8 with no change in the total amounts awarded. The feedback I got was, how is that possible? And it's because there wouldn't be a cap associated with it, correct? Like that's how the
Correct.
calculation was done.
Yeah, it was only if we applied rule number 1 to that scenario. That was the only thing.
Okay. And generally speaking, the feedback I've received is that there is a preference to have only 1 contract per contract holder and alleviate the burden of multiple contracts and all the administrative burden, not only on the contract holder, but also on our staff, which we very much respect and admire. So I'm very supportive of item number 1. I do want to have a conversation amongst panel members about 2 and 3 and the difference between both of those. In my mind, the apprentice rate or the amount available determined by the number of registered apprentices with DAS provides a level of transparency, accountability, and just kind of overall getting everybody on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that I've received some feedback from some applicants that feel like DAS is not up to date with the numbers of registered apprentices. And to that, I would say, like, going in this direction with number 2, we've provided ample time to get those numbers up to date.
Correct. You've got to get it into
You're
DAS's
encouraged,
system.
you got to get it in a DAS's system. We should be tracking all the registered apprentices that should be registered. And that we will be providing like that time to do so before the close of the application periods. So I lean toward that rather than self-reporting. And then connected to that and realizing how limited these funds are. And with the goal that Governor Newsom has, no relation, by the way, of having 500,000 registered apprentices, I want to have a discussion of whether it makes sense for this year, and we're testing things out a little bit, to see if these funds should be allocated to apprentices only without pre-apprenticeship and journey level coming into it. So that's what I'd like to discuss with the panel.
I think, Mike, you had a question or a comment or a thought?
I was going to agree with you on the DAS.
So, on DAS.
Registered apprentices, that's, I think, the easiest way. There's no inflation reporting. So I'm complete alignment on that. And thank you for the last part where the funding should only go to apprentices and not journey workers or pre-apprentices. California State Certified Apprentice Programs are there to do one thing, train apprentices. They are curriculum they have to follow. And in the past, I've seen apprenticeships come in and list tons of training that they are not approved to train in for apprentices. And the answer is always, well, we're going to train our journey workers. For the state of California, you're not even approved to train in that. So thank you for bringing that up.
Can I ask, Willie, if this is something you can speak to our Executive Director Grimes, do the staff have a recommendation on rate 1 or 2 for the board to consider or the panel to consider?
I can speak to it, and then, of course, I will defer to you, Willie, who is the uber subject matter expert in this area. Yes, these are the recommendations that we can feasibly implement this fiscal year that really, on an aggregate level, represents all of the data that we have collected since December of last year. So either of them could actually work. In terms of, I would say, a secondary goal, which is transparency, probably 2, is the one that staff would perhaps recommend. But either of them would be, I think, feasible. But Willie, do you want to weigh in, or perhaps Assistant Director, Senior Advisor Peter Cooper?
I agree, and I think panel member Newsom had mentioned this earlier, that transparency, for transparency's sake anyway, that number 2 is our best option.
I would concur with that. I think that there's a lot of, I was just going to say there are changes in the apprenticeship system right now. There are new actors coming into the apprenticeship system, and to the degree that we can lean on DAS's history and system, I think the better. So yes, I concur with that.
I think I would echo that. I think the transparency of DAS's database, and if they can't get it into DAS's database, we're very clear as to when we're pulling that data. That was one of my requests to Willie as we were talking through this, was we're going to put a line in the sand when we pull this number. So if you haven't got your stuff together, you haven't got your stuff together. It's going to affect your funding call, and you should be registering your apprentices within 30 days of executing a DAS1 with them. So I think in that perspective is really important. I want to just pull on one thing around, we're in an iteration, we're looking at a multi-year strategy of this. I don't want to try and take off too much of the elephant at one time. It's not going to affect the apprenticeship funds, whether they use it on journey worker or apprentice. I think as we adjust to, let's see if this model's right first, because it's not like they're going to say, oh, we want for 2,000 journey workers and 200 apprentices. They're still only going to be able to get for 200 apprentices. a JATC cannot get ETP funds in another contract of their own for upskilling the journey workers. And when I think about what we're trying to do as ETP at its core, it's about providing progression. And there are levels of journey workers at times of being, we got to give them some skills to pay them more. Or even some of these journey workers are training apprentices. I want to make sure they're having good skills to teach those people as well. So for me, I'm not as divided about apprentice versus journey worker, but that's just because I'm like, this is the only way they'll be able to get that fund unless they go and work with another MEC to be a participating employer to do that journey worker training. It doesn't affect how much apprentice funding they're getting because they can't count the journey workers in their number. And that's very clear in this proposal. So for me, I feel like I don't want to buy all of the elephant at one time. I want to just take a piece at a time on that iteration. I think as we go further down this road of like, we know it's heavily subscribed, are there other things we should be considering for future equitable distribution? Like, how many contracts do they have? How many are they closing out? Those sorts of pieces, retention, all of that on top of it. Like, are we going to recognize those with different retention moves? I don't know. But like, as we look at this in the larger scale, I feel like that's in the multi-year. I feel like aligning on apprentice funding model and how we're distributing is probably the first step. But that's just mine in trying not to chew too many things at one time and staff adjusting and how many contracts need and how many are not and remembering which one's which. But that's just my feeling. Doesn't mean you have to take it.
I just have another comment. So obviously this is very complicated, very complex, and Willie, thank you for this amazing memo and your work. So as we've seen over the years, the apprenticeship system is not going to get simpler. It's going to get more complex as well.
Correct.
So if we are aiming to have a program that's as fair and transparent as possible, that also kind of would really push us towards a simpler decision model. So that's what I would support the direction that the panel seems to be going.
That's why I was saying simple apprenticeship dollars for apprentices, but I'm listening.
I think as we look at and this is going to be really unpopular, as we look at more non-traditional programs potentially coming in, this is where the complexities get. Because they're going to be like, hey, do I go for an apprentice or do I go for a single or do I go through a MEC that way? I just know, speaking from prior experience, we would go single and not include our apprentices because we would get more money under the single than we would for apprentice. And I can't train anyone but apprentice or a journey worker apprentice on that. So the avenue of where are we going and how are we flexing, I think we have to look at that in the projections going forward as different occupations come in potentially for more of this. So as I think about, there could be a potential in rise in healthcare apprenticeships. There's a lot of work being done with IACA currently on that could come in for this fund. And then the question goes, do they go down not funding their apprentices or do they fund their incumbent workers and which way? And I think that's where that gray comes in. But I'm like, if they choose to go for apprentice and they only have this much and they use it on their journey workers, I don't know if I have as much of an issue. But
see what else.
Yeah. Open to everyone's thoughts.
My other thought on that one would be if we were to include the journey worker pre-apprentices, your registered apprentice in California is allowed to train in these aspects. That's what you're allowed to train in a registered apprenticeship program. Your training, if you're going to get ETP funds, should be allowed for what you are allowed to trade in, not something so far out of scope that it is not what you're approved to train in California.
I think it goes to, and I'm going to look at council on this, the apprentice standard, if you're using apprentice, this gets gray, on DA, and this is where it gets into the DAS side, not the ETP side, about what is approved curriculum for an apprentice versus a journey worker. That's under the DAS regulations, correct, and not the ETP regulations. I'm just checking because I think that's where we get, and maybe we need the curriculum is to just identify journey work like we do with medical, didactic, and whichever the other is, because my brain is not there at the moment. I can't think what the other skill is. One of you lot will tell me. Like it's that journey worker or apprentice on the curriculum, and then it's clean. It's like, okay, if staff are seeing this title for a journey worker and it's only on the apprentice, it becomes disallowed in the audit on that side of it. Because that's what the curriculum list is kind of used for, is there is a map of like curriculum to job. We put it in the application process. It's in the application. I think if you did it that way, that would be the way that I would recommend. I think and a lot of the listening that I heard, there were several that were very clear that they rely partially on apprenticeship funds to train their journey workers as well as their apprentices. There were a couple in the public comments. I just think it might be a bigger thing than just the model today, but that's just me. I can go either way though. Any other thoughts? Any other thoughts, comments, ideas, questions for Willie?
Do we, just out of curiosity, do we have like a ton of like hands raised in Zoom land?
I don't even know how many we got in Zoom land.
Okay.
There are no public comments
I don't see
online.
anybody running to the podium right now. Okay. So just to reiterate, this is a phased approach.
Correct.
We're going to revise. We're going to continue looking at this.
Yeah.
September panel meeting, when we see all of these come forward, will be very interesting.
I think it'll be very telling. That's what I kind of want to see, like before we start trying to bite too much, is like, what does it look like when it's actually
But I really admire and elevate those apprenticeship programs that when they're providing their curriculum, it's
100%.
by year
Mhm.
or
Yep.
semester, if you will. And then afterwards, the journey level workers would get this curriculum and kind of list it
Yeah.
out that way. I like how
I
that
think
would
we
be
should
presented.
combine it by like apprentice and journey worker level.
Yeah. Or differentiate, you mean,
Mhm.
not
Yeah.
combine. Okay.
We are looking at how we do the curriculum because, this conversation was talking about earlier, there's a difference between the training that's in the standards and what we allow as ancillary training. And we want to make that distinction.
Yep.
Can I make a motion?
I'm letting you decide.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to move forward with the inclusion of number 1 related to whom may apply. And it's a given that those are DAS registered apprenticeship programs.
Correct. You
Like-
can't get
Correct.
ETP funds if you're not DAS. It's legislation, isn't it?
And if so, which I am including number 1, to apply number 2 to the application submitted to determine the contract amount.
Okay, so I have a first
Second.
and a second for option 1 and 2. Okay. Do we have any public comments on this? I see Curtis has just come up. Curtis. Good morning.
Thank you, Madam Chair and panel members. Curtis Natsana with Strategy Workplace Communications. Here today for Strategy and our partners at the State Building Trades, California Labor Federation, and JTCs throughout the state. We want to first just thank the panel and the ETP staff for all the hard work that you've put into this issue and making critical funding available, ETP funds available in general, but also, for all the work in the last 14 years to make sure that there's a equitable way to distribute these funds. More recently, we do appreciate the work, the survey. We participated, our partners participated, and in the listening sessions. Really appreciate all the work that's gone into this. And, for the past 14 years, with a lot going on in the last 10 years, there's been a lot of work on trying to figure out how to distribute these funds in a more equitable way. It's a complex system. Again, we applaud you. However, the current cap structure doesn't reflect the actual number of apprentices served by each program. And so I think, from what I hear on some of the comments, there's movement to address that. For example, JTC serving 1,000 apprentices is subject to the same cap as a JTC serving 200. So we appreciate the movement on this, the recognition on that. We also want to proposed some items for the panel to consider. A number of them we've heard today, so maybe this is just reinforcing it, and that's adopting a funding model that accounts for the number of apprentices served by each JTC, using verified apprenticeship data to determine the program size. This could be done, was mentioned by self-attestation. This could be done using DAS data. I know that, there are some issues with DAS data, and so giving it sufficient time to provide accuracy in the system, I think is important, and looks like it was included in some of the recommendations, so we really appreciate that. We also feel that there should be the establishment of a per apprentice funding baseline, dividing the total number of folks, number of registered apprentices by each program, maybe looking at a tiered system for the cap structure, if there's a cap structure based on the number of apprentices, and being able to have flexibility in adjusting any of these numbers each year. And so I think I heard some, setting some dates around the application deadline, and that gives time for the field to get their numbers in, to have an accurate count. We think that would be very important in any changes. We want to ensure that apprenticeship funding is directed to high quality programs. And so that really, focuses on programs where there's a work and learn model included, that provide industry recognized credentials, that are recognized by multiple employers, not just by a single employer, that, pay the prevailing wage, and that offer full-time employment during and after the apprenticeship program. We do think it's important to focus this funding on apprenticeship also. I think, just to add for consideration, especially with pre-apprenticeship, DAS is still new to registering pre-apprentices, so the accuracy of those counts, might not be updated by DAS yet. And then two, the High Road Construction Careers funding from CWDB that goes into the construction trades. A lot of that is multi-craft. And so how, apprenticeship readiness works, it might not be directly tied to an apprenticeship program. And a lot of the pre-apprenticeship programs that are operating in the field are multi-craft, which means that they're, doing the pre-apprenticeship program, but again, they're not directly tied to a specific apprenticeship program. And that's based on individual choice and availability and the way that dispatch works, and, where hiring is in the industry. So, we certainly support keeping this funding to apprenticeship programs only. And with that, I want to just thank you for your time and consideration of our comments. And again, appreciate all the work that's been done on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Any online?
No public comments online.
All right. We're all good. We are going to go to vote.
Jennifer Fothergill,
Aye.
Gretchen Newsom, Rebecca Betancourt,
Aye.
Ricky Smiles,
Aye.
Michael Greenlee,
Aye.
Emily Desai.
Aye.
All right. So, Willie, we're all in favor with 1 and 2 for the 26-27 fiscal year for apprenticeship funding. So that will go live, correct, with the when you open the application window for apprenticeships for this coming fiscal year.
Yes, and you will see notifications going out very soon. I think on Monday.
Fantastic.
And if I could just ask, really, in making very clear, as we have today, but maybe they're not listening, that they need to get their numbers updated with DAS before the close of the application period, because we're checking the numbers the day
What's
following.
that date, Willie? I'm sure you know. When are we closing application?
June 22nd at 11:59 p.m.
And you're pulling the number when?
The next business day,
Alrighty.
which will be Monday.
Business day.
Yes.
So June 22nd is the deadline to get it in, because it takes 24 hours for DAS's database, and of you that work in it, to update. So you want to get it in by that same close of your application. You'll be squirreling away at both. But that is going forward. So fantastic. Thank you again to everyone who was involved with that. That was a huge piece of work for all. I'm looking at stuff because I know we had a.
Yes,
Deanna,
he's
wait.
actually walking up the stairs right now, so.
All right. So
she's
I
just
would
about to get here.
suggest we take a 5-minute stretch so that
Okay.
they can get back, we can get it done, and everyone can get out of here and get public comment and everything else done.
Okay, perfect.
Sounds good. So back at 10, we'll say 6 minutes, 10:55. I'm going to try and get everyone back together so we can get this moving, wrap up and be done, swiftly, hopefully. I don't know. Just so all knows it is 10:57 and we're calling it back to order. Ricky Smiles is departing, so he will not be voting on this next proposal. He has to leave to get a flight. So I am handing it back to Yana for the proposal.
Okay, perfect. Tab 7, proposal from Greater San Fernando Valley Chamber of Commerce. They are a nonprofit membership organization that provides an array of business services and programs to help small, large, women-owned, entrepreneurial, veteran, and minority-owned businesses. They are a repeat contractor requesting $849,045 to train a total of 535 workers. Training will take place at facilities identified by their participating employers statewide. And please note in the active projects table, the ET23 literacy contract listed was actually an assignment of contract from California Manufacturing Technology Consulting that was brought before panel as informational only in October of 2025. Greater San Fernando Valley's initial literacy contract closed early with 100% performance. And representative from Greater San Fernando Valley is here to answer any questions.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for your graciousness on my crazy flight experience this morning. I really appreciate it, but I'm here to answer any questions you have since Jenna just presented everything.
All right, I'm going to pass to panel. Any questions, comments?
Just wanted you to be able to provide us an update with the current contracts that you have under your belt. So the last one is showing potential earnings of 75%, but you're anticipating 100%.
We have a revision in to switch job numbers. It'll be at 100% once that revision's done.
Okay, excellent. And then if you could talk to me about the middle one.
The one I mentioned yesterday
Healthcare
on policy.
Workforce Advancement Fund. Yes, that would be, it's at 4%. So what's going on?
It's at 4% because this is so crazy. A lot of it has to do with LMS because a lot of these healthcare organizations don't do paper rosters and they don't want to. And they train in like 2 people at a time. And so we only put in so many rosters and we have enough employees because, time constraints. So like Scripps, for instance, they're my best example. They give us rosters with 2 people on it, and so we're kind of like been holding them up. So our administrator, she's out of the country right now, but she has them all ready to start putting them in. Plus we just got 2 new participant employers. That was another struggle for us. The big hospitals and healthcare, because of the data security and everything, I mentioned that on policy yesterday, it's been the bane of my existence. And I finally figured out a way. I made a whole FAQ. I put out all the issues, like I now know all the issues in advance and kind of put it out in a different way, kind of changed the name on our end. They don't need to know the official name because healthcare was a barrier to other organizations in NAAQS Code 62. Because you're not necessarily healthcare, you could be social assistance, you could be something in that area, and it qualifies. So once we hit that barrier, that was in like October, November, we started getting a lot more interest. So I don't think you can see it, but in the system, we now have Goodwill, Southern California, and Jay Nolan Center that are starting their training.
So we sort of switched a bit of the gear of where we're going for and participating employees based on the data security issues raised yesterday at policy.
Yeah, it's a big issue, even with Goodwill. I mean, they're already approved. I have to go through so many barriers. I'm at the point, I know their CEO really well. I'm thinking, do I have to go one more layer? Because it's been difficult. I even know the CEO of Keck USC was one of our original participant employers. I can't get past their legal department.
It's the cost of, I'm going to say, having been caught in some of this once before, some of it's the cost of business and the risk to them.
Yeah.
And is the reimbursement worth the risk or not?
Right.
And it gets into that multi-million-dollar lawsuit or risk versus, yeah.
Yeah, and we're pretty sure, even just with Goodwill, Scripps, and Jay Nolan, we think we'll still hit 100% just because of how much training they have. Jay Nolan's been hiring 10 people a month or something, so they've had exponential growth. And so we're really hoping we're going to go that route. When it's all said and done, I'm going to write you guys a nice little report about what I think the challenges were and maybe things that could, in the future, if there's alternative funds like this, what we could do differently.
Oh, fantastic. Because you've had success with workforce literacy, and that's why you took in on the other one. And I think that's a huge piece of on performance that workforce literacy so many have not done.
Yeah.
As we've seen with the numbers, and we keep hoping it's going to move up. That was always the caution when taking on someone else's, but it was that performance has been there. So you've cracked the code on workforce literacy. Now we've got to crack the code on
Right.
WAF.
I think I finally found it, but really late in the game.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't a 4-year contract, we probably would have had to give back the money.
Yeah. Okay. It is good feedback on that, actually, to think about through and that approach. Any other questions, comments, feelings from panel?
Absolutely. Okay, I do have a question about one of the employers on your list, West Coast Drywall. I'm not sure how familiar you are with this company. West Coast Drywall was held accountable by the DOL for widespread wage and hour violations. They had to pay $944,000 in back wages to 1,069 employees. Currently are under investigation by Attorney General of California for continuing the same practices and have 9+ other private lawsuits against them for wage and hour violations. I can't move forward with this contract with that.
We could remove them. We have plenty of other participant employers that we could put in.
All right.
And, what happens is we have we call it intake form is probably the best way to do it. And so when we talk to between HR groups, SHRM, different things we go to, people apply. And so sometimes we just miss those things. I mean, we've had a lot of contracts and we haven't had that before, but we're happy to remove them.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
So this is a great learning experience for this. And as we're coming into compliance with Senate Bill 1321 and the self-attestations, then it's on all of us to ask our participating employers if they too can meet that that level of high standards. So thank you for removing them.
No problem.
Any other questions, comments?
Motion to approve Greater San Fernando Valley Chamber of Commerce in an ETP funding amount of $849,045 with the understanding and caveat that they are removing from their participating employer list. Sorry, I'm struggling with where it was listed. West Coast Drywall.
Second. Thank you. So I got a first, I got a second. Do we have any public comment?
There are no public comments online.
And no one looks like they're running up to the room. So we shall move to vote.
Jennifer Fothergill.
Aye.
Gretchen Newsom.
Aye.
Rebecca Betancourt.
Aye.
Michael Greenlee.
Aye.
Emily Desai.
Aye.
All right. So we're all in favor and the motion's adopted. You're funded.
Thank you very much. And you'll hear from me about the data security like we talked about.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So it's coming to that time of day, I guess, where we are starting to think about coming near to the end of a meeting, but we still have a few bits to do. This is that time where you guys are usually crickets panel members, but are there any agenda items you would like for future panel meetings? It's the crickets. Okay, so we are now, as there's no wishing for future agenda items, we're going to move to public comment. Obviously, this is the opportunity for the public to address the panel on issues not scheduled on the agenda. We obviously can't act on them, but we may refer these matters to staff for review and possible future panel action. I can see Sam's at the podium, so we will start in the room and then we'll go to online if we have any.
Good morning, ETP panel. Good morning, Executive Director, Dr. Grimes. Good morning, folks in the audience. My name is Sam Rodriguez. I'm the principal of Rodriguez Strategic Partners, senior advisor for SOMA, vice chair for the San Francisco Workforce Development Board, where we house a signature program called City Build, which is a partnership of a pre-apprenticeship program for the building and trades. I am also a commissioner for the Board of Pilots, San Francisco Bay, and I was a former ETP panel member for almost a decade. Today, I just want to address the panel to reconsider a job creation category to help address wage compression environment in the state of California, and particularly in the Empire and the Central Valley. According to the national, state, and economic experts, California is an integral player in the new economy and the research, development, and deployment of artificial intelligence into the various industry sectors in the state's workforce. Although the state's economy is the fourth largest in the world and also a leader in scientific innovation, the fundamental pillars of the state's economy are anchored by small to medium-sized businesses who employ 100 workers or less. The state's economy is essentially 13 regions with unique environmental and population characteristics. A common thread among all of them is a vibrant small and medium-sized business community, creating local employment and a vital tax revenues to local and state government. The recent February 2026 report by the Public Policy Institute of California highlights three bullets. California had over 1.8 million private sector businesses, accounting for 85%, 15.5 million of the state's jobs, generating 90% of the state's GDP. Half of California's private sector jobs are in 5 sectors: healthcare and social assistance, accommodation and food service, retail, trade, professional, technical services, and manufacturing. California businesses with fewer than 100 employees account for about 6 in 10 jobs across the state. Now more than ever, the data underscores an opportunity for ETP to place significant value and importance in the state's job creation environment with a lens of sustainability and equity. As more and more people of color are entering the workforce, looking for employment opportunities with high skill-oriented training. I also want to thank the Policy Committee for allowing me to give public comment yesterday and submitting my memo. And lastly, 50 years ago, Governor Jerry Brown created this program, and the New York Times published an editorial that would this experiment last? So Governor Brown, if you're listening, watching, thank you for that innovative thinking 50 years ago. 50 years later, who would have thought we'd have gone this far? Thank you, members of the panel.
Thank you.
Hey, Peter. Here's my.
Any other public comments? One online?
We have one public comment online.
All right.
Can you hear me?
We can, Phil. Oh my God, I knew the voice even before he.
It's taken me 50 years, my God. Anyway, thank you, Chairwoman Betancourt, members of the panel. My name is Philip Herrera. I'm an ETP consultant. My clients are primarily advanced manufacturers, including employers, life sciences, and semiconductor industries. I would like to begin by welcoming panel member Emily Desai. I also want to thank Derek for his excellent work on the panel representing GoBiz and for all the important work GoBiz continues to do for California employers. I wanted to provide a brief update on my work with the legislature on efforts to support ETP's continuing alignment with the Jobs First economic blueprint. As panel member Desai noted at the beginning of today's meeting, California's set of programs should be aligned in a way that increase efficiency, modernize program statutes, and updates, enabling legislation to ensure the best use of taxpayer funding. I'm a strong supporter of 2 bills currently moving through the legislature, SB 1120 McNerney, which would improve CalCompetes, and of course SB 1059 Archuleta, which would strengthen ETP. As these bills move through the legislative process, I remain committed to educating elected officials and committee representatives about the effectiveness of the ETP program. I am confident that ETP will continue to lead the nation as one of the best workforce training programs available. And yes, New York Times, it is still around. I want to thank the panel members and staff again for all your hard work. I look forward to continuing to bring strong projects for advanced manufacturers through next fiscal year. Everyone have a great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Any other public comments?
Yes, we have one more online from Studio Arts Room. Go ahead.
Are they muted, unmuted?
So sorry, I didn't realize I had. I'm Eric Hulsman, Studio Arts. I'm going to be a little informal, if I may, and want to congratulate the panel and all other folks who are involved with ETP on 50 years. It's been a great 50 years. I've been involved with ETP for about 20 of those years now, and it's been a pleasure on all sides of the aisle for me, and how ETP has been handled by us and by ETP handling how anything in the entertainment industry is, you know, being able to gain from the training, other sorts of activities that lead to upskilling workers and having them prepared for a worldwide competition that is sadly really affecting Hollywood at this point. My comment would be that AB 1138 and Senate Bill 630 should have a great potential effect on how we have jobs and companies doing production work in California and sustaining that through training through ETP. My comment would be that there's some confusion about something. Maybe Jana can help me with this. That any refs that were, started in my case in February and are now, as of yesterday, suspended until May 1st. If those REFs are going to be able to come into the new system that's being implemented as active, or if we will have to redo our refs. If Jada could answer that question, that would be great.
Yes, so anything that has not moved into ineligibility status or in RO development as of 5 p.m. yesterday will be sent back to in draft status. You'll then have to review and update your application to meet the new fiscal year priorities and then resubmit. But I believe Studio Arts was moved to ineligibility yesterday late afternoon prior to the cutoff.
I see. And I'm not clear about why that is.
I'm going to suggest that's a conversation to be had taken offline because I don't know if you really want why it's an eligible public record for whatever reason.
No.
So I'm going to suggest emailing Jana directly and she can help you or your analyst directly to help.
Surely.
Yes.
Absolutely. But I wouldn't know how to reach her. That's the problem.
One of you guys must.
I will reach out to you, Eric.
I appreciate that. Thank you so
No
much.
problem.
But just to further my comments about where we are and where I think we're going, I deal with a lot of entertainment companies here in California, and where I think things are going in the spirit of 1138 is that we want to retain as many workers in California as we can and have the work stay in California. I had a conversation with one of the studios that we do training for. And it wasn't surprising to me, but what was shocking to me was the percentage of people who are not working in California, but are instead working in Australia, if you will. And this particular show, it wasn't doing any of the work in California. It was all basically staff organizing work for work that was being sent out to Australia. Now, I get it all. It's, competitive wages and things like that. But if we really look at 1138 and 630 and what they're trying to do is to keep that work in California. I think the most effective way to do it is upskilling the workers who are here to a point where it's offset what they know and do against what we have in terms of selling this work to other states, countries, etc., that can offer a much lower wage and therefore greater profit for the companies that are looking to do the production. And I'll argue on the side of the production companies at this point where I'll say it's too expensive to do the work. Demand does not outstrip where they are in terms of making a profit on their shows. So this is a very tough struggle we have ahead of us. And I'm not sure exactly how 1138 and 630 are going to be able to address it. One of my concerns for ETP is how much attention we can pay to actually getting funding for the training. I don't know outside of myself, our company, and maybe one or two others that are in the priority industry of entertainment. But from my end, what I see is that there hasn't been enough organization for training entertainment workers to get them to a point where they're so well skilled in what they do that it becomes less and less important for us to move outside of it. That's all I had to say about it. I'm hopeful that, moving forward, that we're still involved in doing this very critical training for the people here in California.
Thank you, Eric. Any other public comment?
No more public comments online.
And there are none in the room, so I'm going to look to panel for, is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All right, I guess there won't be a public comment. Let's move to vote.
Jennifer Fothergill,
Aye.
Gretchen Newsom,
Aye.
Rebecca Betancourt,
Aye.
Michael Greenlee,
Aye.
Emily Desai.
Aye.
All right, so we're adjourning this meeting at 11:17. We'll see you next month.